Hello, Kathy. How are you?
Hello, Raul. I'm doing great.
We like to hear. I apologize for my voice. It's still recovering from the bad cold, so I'm hopeful tomorrow will be better. But we just keep going, right?
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
okay. So we have an interesting topic tonight, and it's very intrigued still to me, and I must confess, it's still working in finding a loving relationship. We can talk about that in the next slides or while we are having a conversation. But I think it's very important, even before getting into how to find a loving relationship. I believe it's very important to define what a relationship is because we have different kind of relationships. Um, so, what's your take about what a relationship is?
Oh my gosh, look at all the different relationships. You can have relationships with your parents, with your siblings, with your relatives, with your co-workers. If you belong to any clubs or you're doing any volunteer work, you have relationships with the people that you come in contact there. There are all sorts of different relationships.
Yeah, acquaintances. The
Hmm.
word acquaintances.
Yep.
And so, even before going to loving relationship, um, why is so hard, just in general, to have a good relationship?
Well, I believe it starts from childhood. And I think from childhood, there are a lot of dysfunctional families. And I think since those are the core issues, those are your formative years. And those establish to a great extent the way you feel about yourself, because everything that you attract relates to how you feel about yourself. So if you had a dysfunctional childhood, you attract other people to continue the dysfunctional relationship.
Okay.
For example, let's say that a woman is married to an abusive man, her father was abusive, or the father beat up on the son, so now the son grows up to be an abusive husband. So a lot of things that come from your childhood affect your relationships today. Let's say that you go to work for a company and because you felt like you were victimized as a child, when you go to work for a company, all your coworkers, you think they're picking on you because you attract that belief that you're a victim. So your thoughts create a lot of the times your relationships.
Understood. Why is so difficult in general to have a friendship relationship? And
You mean with a man and a woman?
I
A
in general,
friendship with a man and a woman or a
I
male?
I mean in general, like people more and more try to be isolated,
Yeah, that's very true.
right?
Yeah,
It's like they don't want to get exposed.
yeah.
And I thought, you know, like me, right? I don't have too many friends. I think I have 5 friends, and that's it. I have plenty of acquaintances, though.
Yes. Hmm.
My point is this: is this a bad? Is bad or good to have not too many friends? Um, what does that? That's why I am trying to find the definition of the relationship. I don't believe that the fact that you value your relationship so much doesn't mean that you have been abused or have a problem in your childhood.
No,
It means
not
that you
necessarily. Mm-mm.
it means that you have an understanding that uh, maybe your energy frequency for some reason is sync with another person, and therefore you're establishing a friendship relationship right? And for some others, it's just an acquaintance, and for some others, even it's just a very distant friendship, right? So I'm just trying to understand the relationship mode.
Right. And I can tell you from experience as a businesswoman, I get very, very busy. There are three friends of mine. One lives in England, one lives in Kentucky, and one lives up 400 in Cumming. All three are high level executives, and we all get busy and we lose touch. So we made a commitment a couple of years ago that we would schedule a meeting, a Zoom meeting, at least once every 2 months to catch up with it, what's everything, what is going on with everybody. My friend Mary and I have a set dinner date every second Wednesday because she is very busy. So what I find is if you truly want to take a friendship and have it develop into a relationship, you must make the commitment. Like my brother. I love my brother dearly. He lives down in Florida. And we lost touch with each other for years. And it wasn't until my dad was dying that he came up to Atlanta and we reconnected. And at that point, 30 years ago, we made the promise that we would keep our relationship going. So every Sunday night, my brother calls me and we carry on a conversation. So I think if people would make a commitment, take the time, because I find these people important and we share our lives together. We share the good times and we share the bad times. And I have a girlfriend from 55 years ago. She and I graduated from high school together. And we still communicate after 55 years every single day. We're on Facebook, we talk to each other, and she lives way down in Peachtree City. But we still communicate because she's a wonderful soul and I wanted to keep in touch with her. So it starts with your desire. If there's somebody you really like, then make a commitment to turn that friendship into a relationship, whether it's a male or a female. You and I'm old enough to be your mother, but we connected and we kept in touch for years now. We have kept in touch. And now we have connected with this program that we're putting on because we're like minded and we want to help people open up to love. So,
I think you touched a key word, and sorry that the introduction is taking so long, but I did mention to you that it's better that we start defining what a relationship is, because
yes.
that's very valuable. Even before talking about the loving relationship, it's just relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you just said something that resonates to me, which it is like-minded,
Yes.
right? Um, I think that's one factor. The second factor is when you invest the time and when that relationship is solid,
Yes.
I can assure you that it can be 2, 3, 4 years and that friend is still your friend,
Yep.
right? So I believe that um, when there is like um, a genuine and authentic friendship, not drive, but what can somebody get from you? It's just genuine.
Yeah.
Does become to be a real friendship,
Yes.
right?
And
So,
real friends listen to each other.
right,
They don't just say, "Well, how you doing?" and then they start talking about themselves. In a real friendship relationship, each of you is equally allowed time to discuss your own issues, just like the three ladies in the Zoom that we do. We are each allowed a certain amount of time to tell us what you've been up to. So nobody completely monopolizes the conversation.
yeah. Let me place David advocate. I come from another culture. I grew up in Peru. Then I have the
Mhm.
opportunity to live in Europe. in a very European country, France, and I experienced different kind of relationship, like
Mhm.
friends and so on and so forth. Then when I came to the US, I experienced other kind of relationship. I must say that from all the Americans, you are my friend, and then I have two other friends, not many, right? And the reason why is because sometimes I found the conversations very superficial at the level that is not of interest to me.
Mhm.
It's a superficial, extremely superficial conversations that is like, it doesn't make too much of an impact for me to keep going.
Yeah.
Uh, is my perception something that is because it could be me, but maybe I am mistaken because I was not born here. Uh, but that is just a perception, or you find that society here in the US is so individualistic and so driven by competitiveness that it's like we are losing the
Yes.
human touch.
Yes. Raul, the world is full of very lonely people. There is an epidemic of loneliness on this planet because people have lost the ability to communicate with each other. They get so wrapped up in themselves because they're afraid to reach out. All we ever hear about is, I don't want to get hurt. I've been hurt. I'm not going to get hurt again. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to get hurt. Well, give me a break. Sometimes you'll get hurt, but if you keep putting yourself out there more times than not, you'll get lucky and you'll meet some wonderful people and develop a friendship with those people and maybe even a relationship. But this idea that I don't want to get hurt has got to stop. You know, if you look at an animal, if you kick an animal and hurt that animal, they're still going to love you. I think God sent us animals to show us truly what unconditional love really means. And those dogs don't say, well, he kicked me, so I'm never going to let him pet me again. I'm going to go hide in the corner. They just, you put your arms out, they come running. They've already forgiven you. But people, they seem, if you get hurt one time, that's it. No more relationships, don't want to hear it. And that's really very sad because some will be bad. I've had my share of bad relationships, but I have always been so open to meet new people. I love meeting people. And through that, I have met some truly wonderful people. Some of them, did they screw over me? Yeah. I mean, some people just stopped the relationship. Why? I have no idea. But I thought, I bless you and release you for whatever reason. But then I look for somebody else. I don't say, oh, that person hurt me, so I'm never going to meet somebody new again. You're
Yeah,
doing
I
yourself a
believe
terrible disservice with that attitude.
I believe it's also driven by personality. I think, um, just in my case, talking by my, from my point of view,
Yeah.
um, it has to be with a personality trait. Also, it's like if you are an introvert and then if
Mhm.
you are an extrovert,
Yeah.
all of that comes um, into being social, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes I feel social, and sometimes I don't feel social.
Hmm.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
Um, but then I find people getting very desperate to have acquaintances and they believe they are friends, but they are not. They are just acquaintances, a
Yes.
party animals. That's what I call it.
Yep.
Because at the real time, at the real moment, if you really need from them any help,
Hmm.
advice, whatever, they don't have time.
That's right.
So that's the other face of the coin.
Well, you know what I would recommend to anybody who is lonely or anybody who has trouble creating friendships or any kind of relationship, I would encourage them to do volunteer work, to find a particular project that means something to them, whether it's working with animals and animal shelters, or with the elderly people, or with soup kitchens, or with teenagers, helping. I loved working with teenagers and helping the teenagers, something that means something to them. Because when you volunteer your time, you are not consumed with self. You think about helping somebody else. And when your mind is not on yourself, and then you feel good about yourself because you're doing something to help people. You see the result of your actions, and you meet like-minded people. So that is a great way to make new friendships and relationships.
Yeah, that's totally true. Well,
Yeah.
we extend our introduction 15 minutes. I think was needed though. Let's
Uh-huh.
jump into what a loving relationship or how to find a loving relationship. I am very curious.
Okay.
So let's jump in.
Okay, loving relationships cover a whole wide area. It includes love between you and your significant other, or your parents, siblings, friends, the list goes on and on. Now, this particular session that we're doing today is just the beginning, because we're going to talk about all of these different relationships. So let's begin with a loving relationship with your significant other, because that's the one thing I hear more about than anything. Loving relationships don't seem to last very long anymore. Statistics on this type of relationship are not good. According to an article in the Guardian magazine, marriage between 1970 and 2011 dropped nearly 60%. Can you believe that, Raul? Also, divorce in America is averaging around 50%. So every one in every two marriages ended failure. That's not
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I am divorced, so I know.
Yeah, I am too. I'm divorced too. Fortunately, I've been in a loving relationship for almost 30 years, so I'm lucky. Most of the people I know who are over 50 have been married 2 or 3 times. And now many of them are single and alone and have no desire to pursue another relationship. That's what I hear from my friends. Many of these people also witnessed their parents divorcing, resulting in the mother working more than one job to support the family. As a result, the children were pretty much left to fend for themselves. The relationship these children had with their absent father was even more difficult. The guilty father tried to make up for leaving by giving his kids lots of stuff. And since he only saw them once a week or later, he never got to know them or help and guide them in their everyday ups and downs. I heard that from all my friends. All this dysfunction in the family unit has resulted in men and women today having a difficult time finding and keeping a loving relationship. So, what's the answer? The answer is to acknowledge that this excess baggage you are carrying around from your formative years is sabotaging your chances for lasting love. And you need to clear it out before you'll find a loving relationship that will last.
How you clear this out?
Well, we're going to talk about it, because the first step is to acknowledge and then forgive. Rumi said it best: your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Those are what I'm talking about, usually from your formative years. Why not think about opening your heart, my friends? Stop missing out on the opportunity to experience love. Now, Rumi came from the 1500s, and people were still complaining about loving relationships in the 1500s. So it's not something new, is it, Raul? It's
Yeah,
been going
it's
on a long
amazing.
time. My friend Tanya was now in her late 30s, and she wasn't having any luck with a loving relationship that lasted. And she called me up. She was in tears, and she was saying, I want children, but I don't know what to do. And I explained to her that a loving relationship is her birthright as a child of God. So the first thing she should do is claim that birthright. I handed her a piece of paper and I told her to write a letter of gratitude to God. She wrote, "Thank you, God, for bringing me a loving relationship that is here for me right now. I am claiming my birthright as your child. I trust you will bring me a man who is the perfect person for my highest and best good."
Okay, I'm
And
gonna
you
do a.
know, we talked about the universal law of gratitude.
I'm
Whatever
gonna.
you say, thank you, God, whatever you say thank you for, you've now triggered the universe to bring you what you desire. So that's the first step.
I'm gonna ask you some tough questions here. Many times, men and women make a list, right? A list of requirements,
Yeah.
right? It's like a request for information kind of thing. The typical question that I ask when I meet someone is, what you would like, what you appreciate, what are the requirements?
Hmm.
So the list is long
I
sometimes.
know.
One
But who
this,
knows better than God what is in your highest and best good?
oh yeah, no doubt about it.
So you
Because
can make all the lists in the world that you want, but at the end, you say, whatever is for my highest and best good. And then
exactly,
you allow God.
no,
Because when people make a list of what they think they want, I can tell you so many stories, Raul, of women who made lists of what they wanted. They found out that wasn't what they wanted after all. But
yeah,
that's what they wanted to do. I said, okay, let's make a list. And then I sat back and watched them complain about, well, this guy did this and that guy didn't do that. But that's exactly what you put on your list. Well, I know, but I guess I don't really want it. So I said, okay, so why don't we just release this into God's hands?
yeah,
Because nobody wants better for you than God.
but I have a question on that. So everything is about the requirements, right? I want this, I want that. But I believe if you reverse it, I am willing to share this, I am willing to give this, I am really to empower this. You turn the tables
Yeah.
into you adding something beautiful. I know you're not expecting the other person to be the servant,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes this happens both ways,
Yeah.
men and
Hmm.
women. And that's something that with time I learned it. I was not aware.
Yeah.
I discovered that because I was very selfish. I want everything to be my way, right? And I don't have any excuses. But then everybody has the chance to, maybe learn or be aware.
Hmm.
And from my awareness is this now, is like it has to be 100% given.
Yes.
It even cannot be 50-50. And people say, no, it has to, a relationship is 50-50. No, it's not 50-50. And I was totally wrong when I said it was 50-50. Before I thought, because we hear in so many movies, soap operas, 50-50. It's not 50-50, it's 100, all in.
But you know what it boils down to, Raul? It boils down to how that person makes you feel. Because I remember when I met Gary, and then he called me up. I didn't give him my phone number, but he tracked me down. And he called me up and invited me on a date. And we went to Dave and Buster's, of all places. I cannot tell you what fun I had. We laughed, we joked. He made me feel good. I didn't feel like I had to impress him. I didn't feel like I had anything but happiness when I was around him. So, the most important thing I would tell anybody in a relationship is ask yourself, how does this person make you feel? And you know what? If they make you feel good, you'll put up with a lot of stuff. I remember one of my girlfriends was going to break up with her boyfriend because she was talking about he drank too much. And she said, I'm just going to have to break up with him. So I gave her a sheet of paper, drew a line down the middle, and said, I want you to put on the left side everything you really like about this man. On the right side, I want you to put down everything that you cannot handle about this man. So she got busy writing. And when she finished, she had at least 12 to 15 positive things that she loved about him because he's really a good guy, and 2 things she didn't like. And she said, wow, that was a wake-up call for her. So I asked her the question, the 2 things that you don't like, he drinks, you don't like him to drink around you. So can you ask him not to drink around you? But if you look at all the things you really like about him, I think you would sorely miss this guy if you just broke off the relationship. So that's another thing that you need to look at.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. With that being said, I think it's a very right have a loving relationship.
Yeah.
And I believe time, God's time are always right. Mm-hmm. So it's not what you want, but and maybe it's what you need.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't understand this. And secondly, is the timing. Sometimes we want to push time to work with us, for us, but then the time is the time.
Yeah.
And so it's just you need to wait, right? It's not the time.
It is your birthright as a child of God. A loving relationship is your birthright for every soul on this planet. So just remember that. Yes. And if you truly want one, it is available to you. So this is what my friend did. She put that affirmation out there. Many months went by and this special man failed to appear. And she was getting really discouraged. And you know what, Raul? All of a sudden it hit me. Oh my gosh. I bet she's got issues from childhood. I should have asked about that before we did the affirmation. So I told her that since God never lies and his gift to her was a loving relationship, then we needed to look at what she was doing to block it. I explained that many times core issues from childhood will definitely sabotage us today. And I encouraged her to write down everything she could remember about relationships she had with her mother and father and siblings in her formative years that could be holding her back from receiving a loving relationship. Well, it took her about a week before she called to tell me she was ready to share with me what she wrote. And she came over to my house and she pulled out 5 pages of things that happened during her childhood. Oh my gosh. Her abusive father left when she was around 8 years old. She was relieved that he wouldn't hit her anymore, and she never saw him again. Her mother completely shut down, showed no love or interest in her and her brother chose to take his anger out on her, constantly berating her and bullying her. Is it any wonder that she had been unable to maintain a loving relationship? Her whole experience with males during her formative years left her thinking that they would only abuse or bully her. And on some level, she was sabotaging all her relationships. So now that she understood how she was blocking a loving relationship, she wanted to know what she could do about it. The first step was forgiveness. I explained that forgiving her father didn't mean that she condoned his actions. She could have been treated, he could have been treated the same way during his formative years. You know, Raul, that happens a lot. When people tell me about their abusive dad, I said, do a little checking and find out if he himself was abused. And about 70 to 80% of the cases, their father was also abused. Mm-hmm. Her mother could have also been treated poorly during her formative years. So what did she attract? She attracted an abusive man who treated her the way her father treated her. After he left, since she'd had known only cruelty and abuse from men, she just shut down. so she couldn't get hurt anymore. Her brother was also subjected to the father's abuse. He felt powerless to do anything about it. So when the father left, he took his feelings of powerlessness out on her since it made him feel powerful. She understood that it was time to forgive and bless and release her family members. So we took her 5-page narrative out to my wood deck where she repeated her forgiveness, blessing, and releasing of all of them. And then we burned her 5 pages in the grill. It's symbolic. We also reaffirmed her gratitude to God for bringing that perfect person into her life. And as she was leaving, she put her arms around me and she told me that a great weight had been lifted from her. And she felt that now it really was possible to meet that perfect man. And guess what? Within the month, she met a wonderful man and they're now getting married, wanting to have kids. As I said, God never lies, Raul. So if you are having trouble keeping a lasting relationship, you may want to look at your formative years to see if you are sabotaging your chances for love.
But I have a question. What about like I had friends that didn't want to have like a, well, let's put it this way. They have no. I mean, that's why I was asking about relationships. There are some people and friends and acquaintances, whatever, that they just want to have a sex relationship
Mm-hmm.
or friend with benefits relationship.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important to understand the relationship concept, because I believe it's all about agreements.
Yeah.
What works for two persons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if we don't apply judgment, I will say if that worked for her and that worked for him, then it's all good. And
But you
just
know
putting
what,
religion
Raul?
out, of course.
I'm going to tell you something about that. I had I spoke at Kennesaw State University, and there was a man who helped me unload all my materials and take them in. And I referred to him in my mind as biker dude because he had the tattoos, he had the nose ring, he had the sleeveless cutout, and the boots and the chain wrapped around his belt and the whole 9 yards. So I called him biker dude. And he was playing Mr. Tough Guy and everything like that. But let me tell you what was so interesting. When I finished the presentation, and some of the things that I had talked about struck a chord with him, and he said, "Let me carry your stuff back to your car." And when he put it in the trunk, he turned around and he looked at me with tears in his eyes. And he said, "Miss Lewis, I can meet women all day long to have sex with. I can meet women to get drunk with, but I can't meet a woman to take home to meet my mom." Now, what do you think about that? So, anybody who says all I want is a booty call, ask them this question: is this person somebody you want to take home to meet your mom?
No, that's they will never take that person because like you know that's a very interesting. That's a very interesting topic.
I was quite shocked.
That's a very interesting topic because I don't apply any judgment at this point of my life to any other human being.
Nope.
The only thing that I care is that they are authentic and genuine, and they do agreements uh, in a way that is clear.
Yeah.
No lies. It's just what it worked for them is because it's what it worked for them. That
Yeah.
they are in that conscious level, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's no judgment.
Mm-hmm. But
So
they're
for
missing out on something.
uh,
Anybody who says all I want is a booty call, that's their choice.
yeah,
But to me, it's so sad that they're missing out on the relationship. I don't know if you ever watched that movie called Baby Boomer. or well, I can't like that. But it was Diane Keaton, who was a high level executive in New York, and her boyfriend lived with her because they were both so busy. It was just, it was convenient for them to live together, have sex once in a while, and whatever. And then relatives over in Europe got killed in a car wreck, and she had to take responsibility for their baby. So they flew this baby in, and all of a sudden, her partnership goes down the drain, and she's stuck with this baby. But the whole movie is about their growing relationship, the loving relationship that she ended up with this baby. And eventually she built out another business. Somebody offered her $30 million. She built up a baby food business, and they wanted to buy her company. And all of a sudden she started thinking about what it would mean. She was in a relationship with her child, and she'd met a nice guy, and she was enjoying herself. So she chose the relationship. She said no thank you to the $30 million or whatever they were offering her for her baby food. We're going to make you an empire. But she now tasted love, and the money didn't mean that much to her anymore. So that's a really great movie to watch. But it came out in 1987 or 88, somewhere around in there. But it's a great movie.
That's so awesome. Well,
Yes.
just to finish with that idea I was mentioning. First of all, I am not advocating people to have uh, what you call booty calls,
Yeah.
or no. I'm just saying that for all males that are listening to this uh, podcast, just be honest and clear with your
Yeah.
intentions. Don't overpromise anything that you cannot grant. And the same goes for the woman,
Mm-hmm.
right? As far as you are clear in your agreements, then it's all good.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, in my personal circumstance and situation, I really would like to have a loving relationship, which is a commitment um, of one person,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I understand that not everybody is in the same boat. There are
Mm-hmm.
others that are using another boat, and that's how it is,
That's right.
right?
I
Okay.
ask. I would ask your friends, why is it that you just want a casual relationship? And why don't you ask them why this is their choice? I mean, no judgment. I would really like to know. Is it because they don't want to be bothered? Is it because they think that the person is going to tie them down? Is it that they don't want to commit? And why don't they want to commit? So I bet you it's going to go back to core issues. What you want to bet?
I don't know. There are just some people that wants to be, you know, by themselves. They don't need to be with someone. They are not in need to have a wife. They just, they don't need a partner, like a romantic partner. They just
Yeah.
want a friend with
Mm-hmm.
benefits. I mean,
Yep.
and if they want that, and if they are in that conscious level, it's up to them. I would say, no judgment. It's just if that works for them at that phase of their life.
Yep.
Well, if that works for them, and if they at least, at the very least, are honest, okay, nobody's gonna get hurt because everybody knows what the agreement is.
Mm-hmm.
But at the moment you lie, at the moment that basically overpromise something that you cannot deliver, that I think that's the real problem. Not being clear.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
Raul, even my friends in their 50s or older who have no desire for a relationship miss the holding. If a newborn baby isn't held, it'll die. That touch, that loving touch, they all admit that they miss that. And random sex wouldn't get it for them. They would want somebody to just put their arms around them and let them know you are important to me. You matter to me. And that is what I think so many people are missing.
Yeah,
They really need to know how much they matter. So many lonely people in this world, Raul. And that's another reason why, if they're really serious about doing something about it, I encourage them to do volunteer work, because
yeah.
that will let them know that they truly matter. And I bet it'll also show them they're not really nearly as bad off as they thought they were, too.
I agree. I agree. Like I said, I think is to talk about love and relationships, and it's good that we are having so many chapters.
Yeah.
I think that will bring clarity. Like it is a conversation. Again, we are not here to convince anybody.
Yeah.
You have the right to agree or disagree with our views.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is a conversation. It's not a lecture per se. We just have
Just open your heart to love.
we just
Mm-hmm.
have PowerPoints to frame our conversation. So we have like we can comment into it. Um, but that's the goal, right? And so I'm so grateful that we are talking about this, because this is something that these kind of conversations are needed, and
Yeah.
sometimes are not elaborated deeply. So we're happy that we are talking about this.
I just wish people knew how much God loves them. They are so loved. They have no idea. And they could never do anything. People really beat themselves up a lot, Raul. I mean,
Yeah,
people are really hard on themselves.
I know because I was one of them. So
Yeah,
I
me too.
totally know.
Me
So
too.
yeah, so I mean, that's how it is. Until you start working, it's all about working out
Yeah.
your spiritual soul.
Hmm.
All right, Kathy, this has been great. So next Thursday we will see each other again, to continue this presentation, this conversation.
Hmm.
So to the audience, thank you very much to join. Any final words, Kathy, before finishing?
If if anybody who is listening is truly desiring a loving relationship, then I would encourage them to go look at their core issues from childhood first, but also find some place to volunteer for. Because if they do volunteer, that is how their heart starts opening. When you do something for somebody else, your heart opens. And when your heart opens, you begin to attract other people, like minded people. So that's a great way. And if you don't want to get married or anything, don't worry about it. Just enjoy the friendships.
Yeah, Kathy, maybe for the next uh, you know podcast, maybe if we can share a list of volunteering organizations.
Hmm.
I think you and I can maybe put something there,
Hmm.
and we show them. I think that will be something valuable.
Let me, one quick story, okay? A
Yeah.
girlfriend of mine lamented she couldn't meet the right guy. She was on all the dating apps. She was at church trying to meet guys. She went to social events, business events, couldn't meet anybody. So we went through the steps of dealing with the core issues. And then I told her to go volunteer somewhere and just put it in God's hands and let it go. She thought that was a pretty stupid idea, but she agreed to do it. And she went to Habitat for Humanity, where she met her husband.
That's
And
awesome.
now they've been happily married for over 10 years.
Nice.
They still volunteer at Habitat for Humanity, as a matter of fact.
That's nice. That's the common bound.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here. See you next Thursday.
Take
Take care.
care.
Thank you, God. Thank you,
We
Kathy.
love you.
Love you.